Now, when you look at this picture to the right, both of these pictures are both the official pictures. Wrap your mind around that. Airborne radiation near Fukushima nuclear plant, this beginning of 2018, still far higher than the government's max. Well, you can't have it. The radiation not just going to stay around the nuclear plant. And the reason that it's high, obviously, is because it looks like this, not like that. These are both the official pictures of the same building. There's a lot of creepy people trying to trick you. That's just a IAEA. Japan's secrecy law passes. It's got a couple of more of these headlines. Prison passes lower house. The secrecy law, this is 2013. Inappropriate reporting, you can go to prison. We're on the path to be a fascist state. I fear now that Fukushima cover-ups are to worsen. Top official protesting the secrecy law is worse than what you think it is. It's an act of terrorism to protest the secrecy law. In Japan, governments promote the idea you're racist if you avoid eating food. You can't be racist for not eating food. That's just stupid. But the entire process has echoes of George Orwell. Much worse than that. Nuclear activists to be constantly spied on. I am. I keep you guys employed. Japan enacts state secrecy law late Friday night amid a revolt. There was actually fistfights broke out when this happened. It criminalized investigative journalism. That actually doesn't even exist. Terrorism defined as imposing one's opinion on others, which is exactly what the Diet, which is like the Congress or Senate in the United States, is doing. This creature is a professor, believe it or not. And sleeping next to a human for 8 hours every night is equal to 0.02 millisieverts an hour. This is what he's claiming. Now, he's going to make just a sentence clip here about that statement. But you got to hear it in his own voice. He's going to say, sleeping next to a human for 8 hours, I skipped past that part, is you get more radiation than living alongside of a nuclear power plant. There's actually 6 times more breast cancer within 15 miles of a nuclear plant. But the big question is, why did everybody laugh?
And living next to a nuclear power station can actually contribute less than your loved one when it comes to...
So why did everybody laugh? And why didn't anybody get upset about that statement?
With myself as one of the principal investigators, was awarded $6 million.
$6 million? That's April 11th, March, April. The very next month, he got $6 million the month after the meltdown. And he had to blow that in 16 or 15 months. He's a Canadian scumbag. I've called him out many times. Japan foreign minister stopped claiming the food is safe. No, he's not talking to Boris Johnson, though he probably should have been. Who's there pretending he's drinking juice from this area. Like, they're growing food, harvesting it right alongside the bags of radiation. Like, say if you brought these bags to the other end of Japan and done that and took the picture, it's still insidiously wrong. It's still horrifically, it's criminal, see? So if I went down to a nuclear dump and bought the land right alongside the fence of a nuclear dump, a well-known dump, you know, one of those Superfund sites, and I open up a farm there, and I start showing pictures of me harvesting food right alongside the Superfund dump, nobody would get upset. Nobody would have an issue with that. The government would be like, way to go, Dana! Score! Probably got that line pretty cheap, hey, buddy? Yeah, that's right, Mr. Weirdo. Officials admit deadly Fukushima meltdown cover-up. So pulling funding when you already admitted to a deadly meltdown cover-up is it's disrespectful, to say the least. It shows nothing but contempt for your friends and your family. We lied about the meltdown. It's a cover-up and a grave issue, an unprecedented nuclear disaster as bad as it gets, an unpardonable breach of trust.
Where I'm standing is on top of what used to be reactor building number 4. The whole of this building was blown apart by a huge explosion.
We are here inside Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that was severely crippled during the earthquake and tsunami of 2011.
Of the decommissioning work taking place here in Reactor 4.
At the end of our tour, we were checked for radiation exposure. In 4 hours, I received the equivalent of less than a chest x-ray.
1,500 highly radioactive fuel rods inside this pool. They've got to move them outside of this reactor.
So all the media pretending they're in the building is the equivalent of the Fukushima 50 lie, where they talk about the story of courageous workers who remained on site to stabilize the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant during its meltdown. Stabilize during a meltdown. Look at it. Do you think someone's going to stabilize that one? Columbia medical professor inhaling just a single hot particle can cause a cancer. And of course, a cancer is the last one to manifest and diagnose. There's 1,800 illnesses and diseases, autoimmune deficiencies, and injuries will show up long before cancer is diagnosed. You can die because your immune system is so taxed, right? Because the radiation is in your body, creating all these white blood cells, displacing your red blood cells that carry oxygen and nutrition throughout your body. You displace that, and you have all these white blood cells fighting radiation because it's pulsing through your whole body. So even though the radiation is sequestered here, it's pulsing all the way up to here. So your white blood cells are being produced and hunting here, looking for the source of it, but also repairing the damage because it destroys the chromosomes and the DNA in every direction. This is what makes it so, this is why you have nuclear power, because there's so much energy. But it's only using about 3 to 5% of its resources, and then you have to put it in fuel pools because nuclear power is so inefficient. Nuclear power shouldn't exist. The only reason it created nuclear power was to make weapons. Japan Times, as the public, possibly worldwide, sickens over time, the truth will leak out about Fukushima. See, when you're harvesting food and shipping it worldwide right alongside the radiation, you lost control. That's a sign of mental illness. The person that's doing it, imagine how stupid that person actually is. Imagine how gullible or evil you have to be to do that. Imagine, like, it's a miracle that they can even get that thing to start up. Like how could you be so stupid to grow food there, and how did you get so stupid that you took that job? How does that work? Seriously. Fukushima rice to be exported to France. Why is that a headline? Well, because it's brutally dangerous. Fukushima sake shop opens in New York. They make the sake out of the rice that nobody else will buy because it should have never been grown in the first place. You got any idea how insidious that headline is? That was November of last year. They shipped the wine, the sake, that nobody would buy the rice. They made sake and shipped it to New York. The radiation forecast in Japan was kept secret to avoid panic in the whole of society. Might have had something to do with it. TEPCO is clearly just hanging on day by day. What did they do? They didn't call for MIT after a nuclear
Another
meltdown.
example, immediately after the first hydrogen explosion, TEPCO gave out an order a request to all of these labor dispatching companies, and they said, send us people who don't mind dying. At that time...
Send us people who don't mind dying, like the mentally handicapped. Were given worse paper suits than regular employees, which were homeless. The mentally disabled are working at Fukushima. And that paper suit was such a controversy that the Japanese embassy withdrew support. Right? Because it's true. It's not a lie. But because their whole legacy is predicated upon deception, misrepresentation, and genocide and ecocide and homicide, right?